The Doc is hot tomorrow at 4.
KREM2 News, live with Mary O'Connell, Tom McArthur, Trudi Strain, and Paul Seebeck.
Good evening. This is the biggest day of the year for Washington State sports. The Cats and the Dogs come face-to-face in Pullman.
Now, the Cats are the Washington State University Cougars, and the Dogs are the University of Washington Huskies. Paul Seebeck joins us now with the latest on who scratched whom. Paul?
Just forgot to mention the hated Huskies, Mary. Tom and Mary, the Cougars simply got beat by a better team this afternoon. The Huskies were very businesslike in a 44-23 win over Washington State. The Cougars, though, played the Huskies tough for about 2 quarters and then simply ran out of gas. Took the lead here in the second quarter. Kevin Adams with a 51-yard field goal. Washington State with its only lead at 10-7. But the Huskies, Tony Covington bangs his way in for a short yardage touchdown. It was 14-10. And then Chris Chandler with 4 TD passes found Brian Slater, who filled in for the injured Mo Hill. It was 21-10 at halftime. This TD at the 47-second mark. And then in the third quarter, the Huskies got a pass interception and set up for a touchdown, then blocked this punt, and it led to Jeff Yeager, who set an NCAA record today with field goals. The Huskies went on to beat the Cougars 44-23, and Todd Pickett is in Pullman, and he will have a complete report with highlights and post-game comments and the Apple Cup presentation and all of it in about 15-20 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Paul. We'll look forward to that.
Well, you know, the Apple Cup is more than just a football game. It is the classic struggle of East versus West, of big town versus small town.
It is also the biggest day of the year in Pullman, Washington. Mark Zimmer joins us live from Pullman tonight, where he anchors our coverage on the other sides of Apple Cup. Mark?
Mark?
Tom and Mary, you can still hear some of the echoes of the Huskies howling and Cougars carousing. In fact, right now behind me, some of the Cougars at the Cougar Club are still carousing. But this chapter of the Apple Cup story is almost complete now. This is clearly the biggest day of the year for the Pullman economy, with hotels and restaurants overflowing and cash registers bulging. It's a matter of hours. The influx of more than 40,000 fans creates a fair-sized city in the middle of the WSU campus.
The peaceful Palouse, once every other year or so, is transformed into what you might call Washington's version of the Big Apple. The Apple Cup turns the state's 2 biggest universities against one another for a day, but it's more than just football. Security police stand by with Cougars uncaged and Huskies unleashed, but many of the rivalries are friendly. This group of fans came over from the Seattle area together and form a blend of WSU and UW alphabet soup.
Oh yeah, the rivalry's there, but we can yeah, you know, there's a Husky fever thing and a Cougar thing too, so yeah.
Bill Quaydall's tailgate parties stretch into a 26-year tradition, and with limited lodging available, RV owners built a village of their own. Heavy traffic for the Apple Cup tests campus police to the core.
Glad it only comes once a year?
Oh, I'd like to see it happen every ball game. more the merrier.
Yeah.
We don't have it. We handle it. I feel that we handle it pretty well, considering our locale and all this.
This match means money for the people who line the outskirts of the stadium.
Cougar sweatshirts, $10.
Husky, Cougar scalps.
Can't do it, huh?
Cougar pom-poms, get him here.
And for one afternoon, this bustling college town clears its streets like an old Western movie at high noon.
Beyond the sweatshirts, buttons, and hats, WSU students were selling pieces of posterity to alumni and friends of the university today. The WSU Student Alumni Connection peddled a chance to become one of 7,000 Cougar supporters to have their names engraved on floor tiles in the planned University Alumni Center.
We have 80,000 alums, and we got to sell 7,000 of these, so our market share we have a good chance of doing it, and they're $100 a share, $100 a tile, and you get 28 characters.
The tiles will help to raise $700,000 toward the renovation of one of the university's oldest landmarks. The Alumni Center will be used to welcome visitors to the campus and encourage gatherings of WSU graduates. Students and alumni hope to reach their fundraising goal by the beginning of next year. You didn't need to look any further than the tops of their heads to tell Cougar fans from Husky fans. Staying warm in the high winds at Martin Stadium was a challenge in itself.
The Apple Cup is one of the few days a year that fans feel free to express their individuality with out-of-the-ordinary hats. Husky fans wore various kinds of furry canines on their heads, indicating their team of choice, and serving double duty to keep their ears warm. Sales of hats at stores in Pullman go up whenever the Apple Cup game comes to town. And our hats off to the fans who managed to stay warm in the cold afternoon game. Tom and Mary.
Mark, question for you. The bottom line is still, of course, who won and lost this as a sports event. What's the feeling there of the Cougars now that they've lost this game this year?
Well, I suppose they're rather philosophical about the whole thing. It was sort of expected that the Huskies were going to win this game, and the Cougar fans right behind me, as you see, are still enjoying themselves. They had a chance to get together with other alumni of WSU, and right now they're enjoying themselves pretty well.
Have they started talking about next year's Apple Cup already?
Pardon me, I can't understand.
I said, have they started already talking about next year's Apple Cup?
I don't think they're thinking about that right now. I think the main concern is this evening and having a good time and hopefully getting home safely.
Okay, thank you very much. Mark Zimmer live in Pullman with all the Apple Cup news of the day.
Yes, more yet to come. There was much more going on today, though, than just the Apple Cup. In a moment, troubles are brewing in the Philippines.
And we'll introduce you to 3 Spokane girls who are looking for some help to save the day. Political tension is heating up in the Philippines.
The talk of a coup continues, this after an ally of President Corazon Aquino was killed. This now the 3rd political assassination.
Aquino's residence is being guarded by troops, and the military has also surrounded TV and radio stations.
In other national headlines, shipping arms to Iran continues to frustrate many. Today, a Danish ship worker explained how he knew arms were being shipped to Iran from the U.S. One revelation being talked about today is that other countries acted in cooperation with the U.S. and its efforts to send the shipments. The Indian government is seeking more than $3 billion from Union Carbide tonight for the 1984 gas leak in that country. That leak killed close to 3,000 people. Back in December of 1984, we first saw these pictures of the devastation in Bhopal. In addition to the high death toll, hundreds of thousands of people were injured. Today, an Indian government attorney told a Bhopal court that the $3 billion should be set aside immediately. So far, no reaction from Union Carbide. The company claims the Indian government is to blame, saying the government ignored evidence of employee sabotage.
A walkout at the Delco Electronics plant in Indiana is over. Earlier today, workers formed a human chain before the striking voters took a vote. Today's vote ends a walkout that left other General Motors plants without vital parts. GM has agreed to continue making car radios at the plant rather than moving the work to New Mexico. Well, today marks a day in history. If you're in your late 20s or older, you probably remember where you were 23 years ago today, the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy in the head and neck with 2 rifle bullets. They were fired from the 6th floor of a building housing the Texas School Book Repository. Kennedy, riding in an open car, was an easy target. 90 minutes after Kennedy was dead, Vice President Lyndon Johnson was sworn into office as the new president. Oswald was killed 2 days later by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. Today, Senator Edward Kennedy visited his brother's grave. The Kennedy clan is holding a private service.
The results of the November 4th election are finally final. Election officials ran one more recount today. The races for the 6th District House seat and the county coroner's job were very close, and officials wanted to make sure that the results were right.
Mandatory recount is necessary when we have a race that is the total ballots cast, the difference between the candidates is less than 0.5%, which is what we had in 2 cases here.
An additional 6 ballots showed up in the recount, but that didn't make much difference. John Moyer still takes the state representative position with an 86-vote lead over Jan Pollock. Graham McConnell will take over Dexter Amon's job as county coroner. McConnell ended up with a 305-vote lead. Several roads in Portland, including Interstate 5, were closed early this morning because of a toxic chemical leak. 3 railroad tanker cars carrying flammable methanol rolled loose through a Portland freight yard around 2 o'clock this morning. One of the cars collided with a flat car, ruptured, and caught fire, releasing a noxious cloud of gas. A Union Pacific spokesman says the tankers should have been secured. The incident is under investigation. No one was hurt.
There is no Super Pops performance at the Opera House tonight. The only thing ticket holders will see if they showed up would be this sign. The executive board canceled tonight's symphony performance last week after labor negotiations with musicians broke down. The musicians want more money. The Spokane Symphony Society says it doesn't have any more money to give. Both sides have agreed to a federal mediator to step in on Monday. In the meantime, Spokane will be without its symphony. Spokane's Davenport Hotel has been vacant for many months. No one has come forward to buy the historic but financially troubled building, and the city hasn't come up with a plan to save it. Now a new group is trying to preserve the Davenport with a little money and a lot of youthful enthusiasm. Susan Howard has the story.
Only a few shops remain open in the once elegant Davenport Hotel. Access to the grand ballrooms, the ornate lobby, and the once plush accommodations is barred. The historic building is almost completely locked up. These three youngsters hope their allowance and their enthusiasm will be the key to the Davenport's future. They've saved up $12.37 and plan to keep contributing part of their allowance to save the hotel. They want other kids and a few adults to do the same.
It's just a start for us to get our money all put together. We pitched in a lot of money, and Buffy, she pitched in the most money. She pitched in her $5.
The girls are only 9 years old, but they have fond memories of this old hotel, and they don't want to see it torn down.
I really remember the hot chocolate because it had whipped cream and marshmallows, and it was really thick, and it was very chocolatey.
Perhaps it's youthful optimism, but the girls are convinced with a little help they can accomplish what adults haven't been able to.
Usually they are working and they don't have a lot of time to do it. I think that we have more time to earn money and stuff.
The girls say they'll work as long as it takes to save the Davenport Hotel, even if that means working on it until they're 14 or 15 years old. With photographer Brad Booker, Susan Howard, KREM2 News.
Now, Chrissy, Becky, and Buffy are serious about their plan to save the Davenport. They've opened a Save the Davenport account with Washington Trust Bank, and contributions can be made at any branch. The effort is being overseen by the Inland Northwest Community Foundation. Every penny will go to Save the Davenport, and if that doesn't work, it'll go towards historic preservation. But what an ambitious idea.
A wonderful idea.
Yes.
Wish them all the best of luck.
But
Yes.
kids can go ahead and start something like that.
I thought I saw a little bit of snow today. Were my eyes deceiving me or what?
You weren't dreaming if you woke up and saw snow. We had almost 2 inches, as a matter of fact, this morning. Melted away rather quickly. I'll have the details for you in just a minute. Well, another storm system is on its way inland, following close behind. We have fair skies out there right now, but it doesn't look like it's going to stay that way for long. Let's head on outside, take a look at our current conditions. A temperature of 34 degrees under those fair skies, and our winds are, for the most part, calm right now to the southeast at 8 miles per hour. Barometric pressure 30.22 and rising. Our humidity at 96%. Now, our precip for today, 33/100ths of an inch, and that brings our total of rain to about 1.5 inches this month. Our snow, we did get 2 inches this morning, and as I mentioned before, it melted away rather quickly, and that brings our snow total to about 4 inches, and the month of November is just about over. Today's low down to 33 degrees, the high up to 40 degrees, and as you can see, both of those are just well above normal. Not too bad, as a matter of fact, for this time of the year. Today, taking a look at our record highs and lows, the low a chilly -4 degrees. You probably remember that from last year. The high up to 57, that's set back in 1933. Here's a look at things around the rest of the region this afternoon. For the most part, a blanket of warm, moist air and clouds covered much of western Washington. Now, temperatures mainly in the low 50s from Bellingham all the way down to Portland, but a little problem with rain in western Washington, about 1/2 inch at Forks, another 1/2 inch at Bellingham, and some gusty winds in much of the Puget Sound area this afternoon. Along the Cascades, they've been getting a couple of inches of snow, but once again, those are at the higher elevations, upwards of 5,000 feet, so if you are crossing the passes, shouldn't be too much of a problem this weekend. The rest of central Washington, for the most part, mainly in the mid-50s. In fact, a high of 52 in Yakima, but it got cooler as we moved to the east. 40 degrees our high here in the Spokane area, 42 for those folks down in Pullman. And pushing west, you can see we start to pick up a little bit of snow in the mountains of central Idaho and western Montana. 2 to 4 inches this afternoon, and in the southern portions of Idaho, about 4 to 6 inches of snow expected this evening. Now, here's a look at that system as it pushes across Idaho and into western Montana. You can see there is a little break in the action, but there's another storm system system right along its heels, moving in from the subtropical waters. Most of this is fairly warm air, so it means a lot of rain for western Washington. In fact, most of the Puget Sound area can look forward to a little bit of flooding problems tomorrow. There's also some cooler air coming in from the Gulf of Alaska, and that means some windy weather for the Canadian border and possibly for the inland waters of the Puget Sound area as well, so we want to keep an eye on that wind. In terms of the rest of the nation, current temperatures right now in the 20s and 30s in the Rockies, a little bit cooler also in North and South Dakota and on into Minnesota, where there's some travelers advisories, and a little bit of snow in that area. Temperatures down into the single digits. We have a little bit of rain across the inland areas, particularly the Central Plains, Nebraska and Kansas, just a scattered showers there as well. A little snow across the Rockies. Here's how we look in the northwest. A little bit of rain in the Spokane area this afternoon, a lot offshore, and we'll see that storm system begin to move in. We can expect plenty more rain in western Washington and here in the eastern portion as well. Taking a look at our forecast for the night ahead, we're looking at increasing clouds and about a 20% chance of snow tonight. Our low down to 33 degrees, no problem with the wind, but that does change tomorrow when we have cloudy skies and about a 50% chance of a mixture of rain and snow. Our high tomorrow 45, our low 39, and it's going to get a little bit windy tomorrow night. Our extended outlook calls for a little bit of rain and snow mixed on Monday, about a 50% chance, a high of 44. Tuesday and Wednesday, though, as that storm system begins to clear out, a high of 43 and 45, so not too bad for our temperatures, good 7 or 8 degrees above what we would normally expect. And for the skiers tomorrow, 49 degrees north opens the first day.
First day. Good
That'll
news.
Be exciting. Thanks, Trudy.
Yeah.
Now to talk about more of Apple Cup 86.
Well, you know, maybe we should talk about the PLU Lutes. Tom and Trudy have been talking about the Lutes all day. You know, how would they do against the Cougars and Huskies? That's the eternal question. We'll have highlights of Apple Cup with Todd Pickett live in Pullman when we return. Well, for a brief moment, it looked like Washington State might give hated bitter arch-rival Washington a battle, but the Huskies scored 24 unanswered points in the second and third quarter, and Washington pounds the Cougars 44-23. Todd Pickett is standing by live in Pullman now with this report. Todd?
Thank you very much, Paul. You know, to be truthful, it really went pretty much as expected, the way we expected it, the way Jim Walden and the Cougars expected it. They held in and hung on for about as long as they could, but with lowered numbers and simply just not enough size and strength, they finally fell to the Washington Huskies. We'll take a look at some of the action from Husky Stadium. Chris Chandler with a 3-yard touchdown pass to Rod Jones, and late in the first quarter it was 7-0 Washington. The Cougars would come back and tie it early in the second quarter. Ed Tingstad with his first career touchdown, this 3-yard run, and Kevin Adams point after made it 7-7. Then the Cougars took a lead. They got the ball snapped just in time on this one, and Kevin Adams kicked a 51-yard field goal with the wind at his back, fourth longest in Cougar history, and it was 10-7 with 9 minutes to play in the second quarter. Washington would come right back, a powerful ground attack all day long. Tony Covington's 2-yard run put the Huskies ahead to stay 14-10. After the Cougar field goal, in fact, UW scored the next 7 times it had the ball. Lonzel Hill went out with an injury. In comes Brian Slater, who had 3 touchdown catches, that one of 25 yards. And then a Demoy Williams interception on the Cougars' first possession of the third quarter set Washington back to work once again. Chandler with another nice pass. Slater in man-to-man coverage comes up with the ball and beats the Cougar defensive back, and it was 28-10 in favor of Washington at that point. 2 Jeff Jager field goals made it 34-10. Then Kerry Porter scored late in the third quarter, a 2-yard run. Porter came up just short of 100 yards today, had 97 total, and that made it 34-17. Then it was Chandler once again, a 25-yard pass to Slater. That one made it 41-17 in favor of the Huskies. Cougars would come back on Porter's touchdown run, went for 2 and missed it, and then with Don James really just telling his players to fall down to line up this field goal, Jeff Jager's 27-yarder, an NCAA record, his 80th career field goal to beat John Lee's mark, as the Huskies won it 44-23. And after the game, the Cougars said to a man that Washington's size and strength were simply too much to cope with for 60 minutes.
Football players haven't been so much down as they've been knocked out by some very good teams. And I think people forget that quality. They keep expecting you to be every week some other level than you are. We've tried to get up, but they seem like today. We were up today, but they knocked us down.
You know, I knew in my own heart that, you know, patience, and if we kept pounding at them and working, then, you know, sooner or later something would break, but guess we ran out of time.
That's the way it's been. I mean, the teams that we've been playing are just so much bigger than we are that we just haven't been able to, you know, keep up with them in the second half.
Well, the Cougars, as we said, going down to defeat, and right now they say they just have to regroup and get ready for the 1987 season, start to work right when they come back from Thanksgiving vacation. Paul, I know before we toss it back to you that you and I would be remiss if we didn't want to thank our photography staff, the engineers who've done a great job down here the last 3 days, and also the folks with the Compton Union Building, Matt Carey and his crew here at Washington State University.
Said, Todd, thank you very much. I'm sure the mood was definitely more upbeat in the Huskies locker room this afternoon. Washington gets the Apple Cup trophy and earns the state's bragging rights for 1986. The Sun Bowl-bound Huskies got the Apple Cup trophy presentation this afternoon. It's a ritual in the winning locker room. Something funny happened, though, late this afternoon. Watch Governor Booth Gardner reaches out to shake this Husky player's hand. Almost lost the trophy, but they recovered in time. Yeah, the Huskies have the Apple Cup trophy for 1986, and this is the comments from the Husky locker room afterwards.
We had one turnover that came in the game, but we executed well. The line was the whole key. I had all the time in the world to throw, and Wazoo, they tried to do some things with pressure and left a lot of things open deep, and all I do is just throw the ball.
Like last 3 out of 4, we haven't, 3 out of 4 they've got it. So about time this is a new start, 1 for 1 now. We're going to have a streak going right on.
I really wanted to beat these guys bad, so that was my main goal coming in, because I figured I'd already blown the shot at getting the record.
Pac-10 scores from today. We take a look at the scores. Arizona State. Well, these are last night's pairings. Here they are. Arizona upset Arizona State. The Sun Devils Rose Bowl bound, even though they lose to the Wildcats. California upset Stanford. Joe Cap's last game for the Golden Bears. And this just in UCLA over USC 45-25. The Idaho Vandals NCAA Division I AA playoff hopes are still very much alive after the Vandals got a 21-14 win over their hated rival Boise State this afternoon. The Vandals, look at this, isn't it ugly turf, blue turf? It didn't bother the Vandals though. Keith Yarrett of Boise State intercepted on the sideline by Virgil Paulson, who goes down the sideline 93 yards to the touchdown. He could have crawled there, and the Vandals had a 14-0 lead in the first quarter and pretty much coasted the rest of the way. Now the Boise State tried to bounce back via the defense. Pete Kukowski right here sacks Scott Linehan in the end zone. Boise State trailed at this point by 5 at 14-5. And yes, Grandma was in attendance at Boise State University. Scott Linehan, watch this catch by Brant Bingen. What a great receiver. Leaping grab for the touchdown. The Vandals win by a final of 21-14. Allows Stetenitich his last game probably as a coach at Boise State University because of a horrible record. The Vandals finish at 8-3. Taking a look at the other Big Sky Conference scores this afternoon as we look at the scoreboard. Boise State beat, again, Idaho beat Boise State. Montana 28, Portland State 14. That was a third quarter score. We'll try to pass along a final for you tonight at 11 o'clock. A lot of big games this afternoon. Michigan State, Ohio State. The Wolverines will go to the Rose Bowl, even though the Buckeyes grabbed a 14-6 lead here when Vince Workman ran 46 yards for the touchdown. The Buckeyes had a 17-13 lead in Ohio Stadium in Columbus in the second half, but Michigan rallies and wins it. Thomas Wiltshire scores what proved to be the game winner right here, giving the Wolverines a 26-17 lead. They'll play Arizona State in Pasadena on New Year's Day. Also, Nebraska and Oklahoma. Oklahoma rallies to beat the Cornhuskers, even though Nebraska took a lead here at 17-7. Steve Taylor, 25-yard touchdown to Rod Smith. It was 17-7. Keith Jackson, though, catches the 17-yard touchdown for Oklahoma, and the point after tied the contest at 17-17, and Oklahoma won it here with seconds left in the contest on this field goal of 31 yards. The Sooners win the Big 8 championship, go to the Orange Bowl. Nebraska will go to the Sugar Bowl. Other scores, Penn State beat Pittsburgh, so Penn State will meet Miami of Florida in the Fiesta Bowl on January 2nd for the mythical national championship. LSU leading Notre Dame 14-7 in the second quarter. Arkansas over SMU. Texas A&M at least a tie for the Southwest Conference Championship, beat Texas Christian. Baylor over Texas, and South Carolina and Clemson a 21-21 tie. And again, Gonzaga Prep, a great win last night over Kennewick, and high school volleyball results tonight at 11. Shadle Park in the semifinals in the AAA championship.
Okay, I guess we sort of expected the Cougars to lose, but it still hurts to see them do that.
That from Tom McArthur.
Thanks, Bob.
Tom, you surprised us all, huh? That's our report for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll all be back at 11 o'clock.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Welcome to the Silver Bullet.